Hey everyone, welcome to the Meno Lounge. I'm Julie Gordon-White, CEO of MenoWell, Menopause Energy and Protein Bars. It's my favorite day of the week. Yes, it is, because I am here with you. Let's see. You know what? I just got a notification said Julie Gordon-White is live, so I hope I'm on the right channel. I see you, Christine. I'm going to bring you up right now. That's never happened before. I guess this is live. Okay, Christine, I know you're going to pop up here. I'm so excited for this conversation. I feel like it's going to be extra special. We're going to be talking a lot about reverence for women. And look at perfect timing.
Good morning.
Hi. Good morning, Christine. How are you?
I am wonderful. I had an amazing morning already. Taught a little yoga, went out on the water.
Beautiful. Well, let me just jump in to introduce you. This is Christine Mason, CEO of Rosebud Woman, I should say. Also, Radiant Farms. We're going to talk about that. And Rose Woman Podcast. I don't think I knew how to podcast also. And can I just slide in there, besides being a TEDx speaker, you have authored 8 books. I bet there's more that you haven't even said, but 8 books. Is that right?
Yeah, I have the 9th one coming up.
I knew it.
But yeah.
A prolific writer, there's always like another one coming, you know, something being birthed out of you. So
yeah, that's
super exciting.
That's the thing. It's like you have them and then they're done. You've gotten it out of your system. So I never do a great job on the promotion side, but I love the writing part. I love actually more than that, the interviewing, the researching, the learning.
Yeah.
So.
It's a big deal. I've written one book in my previous life on exit 12 steps to sell your business for the price you deserve. And it was like birthing a child. I mean, it was major. And I found the stress not in the writing, but then when it had to emerge into the world. And maybe that's, I don't know, that's about becoming, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's actually like a good lead into sort of the growth edge, like what's your growth edge at each stage of life. And for me, writing it was not ever the growth edge, like, but stepping out and speaking and socializing it. And I always had a little shame, or not, like reticent shyness around that. And that's gone, you know, but that was something that didn't go away until I made it a conscious effort after menopause. So
yes, it's funny how perimenopause becomes like that moment of expansion, becoming, awakening, and then you get to menopause or postmenopause and you're like, I'm good. This is my beautiful work. Hello, here it is. If you don't like it, no worries, it's not for you. Move right on. I love it. You know, by the way, we're neighbors. I can't believe we've never met in person. I mean, I live in North Berkeley, so super close to you.
Oh, well, that is over. We will meet in person.
Yes.
I love your bars. You sent a sample shipment to the office when I was on the East Coast. Yes. And I was like, I'm good for lunch because I've got these all the time. And yeah, you've done an amazing job. So I will read your book. I'm going to read your book, and we will have a live meeting.
A live book party. I love it. Well, thanks. Yeah. And your product is equally beautiful. Let's just kind of jump into about how you landed on Rosebud Woman, because the product, you know, it's different. You know, for intimacy, self-care, I think was one of the things that you say. Yeah. It's plant-based. It's very, very rich and luxurious and really special. So tell us about the formulation of the product, but really the inspiration behind it, because I feel that it's an expression now that I've learned more about you, of kind of all of who you are and all of these different facets of your personality.
Thank you. I feel very seen by that. It is different. I mean, I had been a tech CEO, and I had been raising my family of 4 biological children and a couple of bonus girls I raised from 2 and 8. And I got to perimenopause, and it coincided with a time when my husband had stage 4 cancer. And so we were really deep in the understanding of toxins, of eating well, of trying to reduce the body load. And I needed intimate care products. And the only thing that I could find was stuck in the back of the CVS, loaded with petrochemical products and other things that were not good for you. Mm-hmm. And I wanted something that was as clean as the stuff I was using on my face. And then the other thing I was looking at, it was all really articulated either as a pathology, like you had an illness or a problem where you were broken, or it was articulated in the context of sex. Like it was for the transactional moment of intercourse, and that was that. But that I live with my body every single day. And I wanted something that I could use that would help me feel better. And so we created a category called intimate self-care. Yeah. And that was a very big pivot to treat it as skincare. To what I used to say in the beginning was you had this sort of blacked out triangle at the base of the body that you couldn't talk about, but it was part of your body. And so we wanted to restore it to body care. And at that time, like, the idea that you would have intimate care products in Neiman Marcus or in Bloomingdale's, sitting there right next to your beautiful moisturizer, you know, they were, you know, it was kind of a shocking idea. So here we are 5 years later, and it's out there. But it was kind of also a delivery vehicle for a message of no shame, for embracing your body your whole life long, for claiming full pleasure, for knowing the parts of your body and how they work. And then a little bit even deeper was that understanding and trusting that these stages of life, whether it's pre and postnatal, perimenopause, menopause, are natural, that anywhere a stand of human beings had evolved, that plants had co-evolved with them to deal with the common issues of being in a human body. So if you have gastrointestinal distress, there's a plant for that. If you have mood disorders, there's a plant for that. And same thing with menopause and skin concerns. So that's a little bit of the backstory.
I love that. We're so aligned on so many ways. There's so many pieces in there in what you just said I want to circle back on. But you do talk about the wisdom of plants, and we feel the same way. You know, that's how we feel about maca. Because to have a natural way to help navigate through blood sugar ups and downs and how we feel about middle, but trusting the wisdom of plants or relying on them because we've used them for centuries before we had other things. So I love that. That's built into what you have built. I want to go back to having the product in Neiman Marcus, let's just say, and Bloomingdale's, and right next to other facial skincare. And it's been 5 years, you said. So tell us about that, because you're very much a pioneer in having intimate skincare at the beauty counter. So how did that work for you at the time, especially?
Well, first I want to shout out to Michelle, who's our head of sales. Michelle, before we even sold our first product, I had known her through the TED community, and she saw my promo that I was doing some sampling, who wanted to be part of our launch group, and she reached out to me and joined me. So she had a long background in how to reach out to accounts. But what we didn't realize is at that point, even advertising online direct to consumer, that the algorithms couldn't tell the difference between porn and talking about women's health. Right. So we were uphill all the way. So it became word of mouth in the beginning. And then we had to use euphemisms, which is why, I use intimate parts, but I don't say vulva or vagina until recently. Now, all of a sudden, because there was this ruling last October that allowed us to say that. So the first thing that we did was make sure that it was researched back. We had surveyed over 3,000 women and said, what are your top intimate skin concerns? So it was moisture, hydration, it was tissue thinning, it was irritation, redness, swelling, it was I really don't have any feeling down there anymore, it was trying to keep it clean on the surface so bacteria didn't get in without drying the skin. So we used this research to enter into these accounts and say, look, there are people who have these needs, limiting their pleasure, limiting their comfort, limiting their joy. And we have a solution that's beautiful and it's in your target and women want it. So I remember going to an indie beauty wholesale market and everybody, putting all the products out, putting flowers out, demonstrating them, having 17 buyers come by from a very large chain and all be like, we need this, we want it, we're going to put it in. And then their male boss vetoing it and saying, no, it's not.
Didn't want to talk.
It took us 2 years to get in there.
How many? 2 years?
2 years of pitching and pitching, and then Me Too started, and the zeitgeist sort of shifted, and there was an upswell, and then all of a sudden we had what you might consider competitors, but I consider collaborators in building the category. And there was an upswell of people talking about sexual wellness, around intimate wellness and menopause, and it all sort of like click, click, click came together. And in the meantime, you know, the products were getting reviewed and people were loving them. The major criticism that I got in the beginning was for price point, because we really did price it for the channel, priced it so that it could be carried out, priced it for good ingredients, for quality making, and so that everybody who worked for us had a decent standard of living. Yeah. And now I've got subscription pricing and smaller sizes and other things so we can reach broader people, but the quality of what's in it has stayed the same. Yeah. So that's
always the challenge. I find that many of us that have brands that have been formulated for women in midlife are special. We use the best ingredients and we're still making them, I would say brewing, but we're not brewing, but we're still, you know, producing them at smaller production runs. And so it's going to be more expensive and it's not that we as brand owners are making any more money. Let me just promise you that. It's just, this is what it costs in order to create these beautiful products.
I mean, we've had some moments like this is my, this is the flagship, the Honor Balm. Yeah. And when we tried to upscale the run into a larger run, and it came out gritty. You know, and it turns out that it couldn't emulsify in the larger tank because of the quality, because of the ingredient we're using. So we had to go back to doing smaller batches. And it smells good.
I know it smells really good. It smells good. It does like sniffing Instagram on MenoWell. Oh, yeah.
I smell.
Yeah.
I transmitted across the
phone. I got it.
No, it's we didn't add any additional scent. There's no perfume, but it does have it is scent because the actives have scent. And each one of the products has a different point to it. Like this one is for lubrication, moisture, tissue rebuilding, and this one's for scars, and this one's for arousal, and this one's for soothing. And I remember the delight, like in the arousal serum. Have you tried that one?
No. I have not.
Oh my gosh, I gotta get you some. Put a little bit on your
natural
lips.
Vacation. No, go ahead.
Vacation. You know what? I can come over to Berkeley this afternoon.
Yeah, could you drop
you off a little kit?
Put something in my mailbox. Yeah.
Where the texture of your lips crosses over from that wrinkly stuff to the line that's really smooth. That's called the Hart's line. And it's the same on the vulva, like where the hairline ends and then the tissue changes. And this particular product, this arousal serum, has a plant in it called Spilanthes ecmella, which is also known as buzz button. And when it's on the outside, in that
buzz button,
it's used in Polynesian cultures. I have a farm on the Big Island. It's used in Polynesian cultures. That's where I discovered it, for both oral hygiene and for sexual arousal. Because when it hits that tissue on the inside, you start foaming, like you get like lubrication response. It brings blood flow, and you get this salivation response, and the salivation, of course, will clean out your gums, but it also, that's what's happening in the yoni. So you get this external tingling and heat, and then anywhere it's on the others, the more mucous membrane tissue, it creates a salivation response. It's very potent. And
but I rely on the
plant
button.
for that. Yeah.
I said I'm still stuck on buzz button for the arousal. I mean, it's a buzz button. You couldn't plan that any better. Yeah.
No. But the flower itself, I mean, I have some pictures of it on the site, but the flower itself is like a little tiny cone-shaped flower that has yellow edges and then a tiny little red point at the top. It really does look like what it's used for. It looks like a clitoris.
Yeah, wow.
So, you know, and then
nature knows.
Bite the head off the flower, and then your whole mouth goes. So we use an extract that's a little gentler. But yes. What else can I tell you?
Wow. Okay, there's a lot happening there, from the buzz button, you're biting the head off, and then
yeah,
I love it.
True. I used to bring, when we had live trade shows, I would bring the flowers with and say, go ahead and bite it. You can grow these in your garden if you want, if you're in a warm climate. But go ahead.
They're like, no, I'll buy your stuff instead. Jenny said, I'm glad someone understands production and scaling products. So difficult. She was just giving us a little love on that. Okay, so I love this. This is so fun. Let's just talk about Reverence. Why? Two things. One, the word rose and reverence. So rose
Yeah.
is your word. Why did you choose rose? What does that mean to you and the brand?
I mean, I would say, first of all, Rosebud is actually the shape of the vulva. And it wasn't about the scent, although it gets confused. And then also I feel that in the word rose is like a gentler form of woke, of like coming fully into your self-knowing, into your core, into your center. And that there's an awful lot of criticism that women aim at themselves, that all people aim at themselves, really, critiquing their embodiment, when actually the response towards your body is the same as like planting a seed and seeing it grow into a perfect lily or a rose or a daisy. Like the seed that was you knew exactly how to grow and become you. And it can't be anything less than nature or perfect. And that walking in the world with a beautiful reverence toward your embodiment, not a criticism of it. Like if the next time I hear a woman be like, my belly, my thighs, whatever the issues are, or complain about menopause, it's like, actually, if you take a reverence for this stage of life, it's very beautiful. Like I was doing the math on it, what it takes to have a period. And it takes over 1 million calories, over 1 million calories to have your periods over the course of your lifetime. Wow. It's a literal energy drain. Like your basal metabolic rate goes up to 8 to 10% for a week out of the month.
While you're extra hungry during that time.
Yeah. Yeah. You're menstruating, and then also you're using all this energy to produce children. And there's something that's happening as your body's saying, okay, great, you did your duty on that front. Let's give you the reward now of all that energy back to yourself. You get all the physical energy, all the cyclical reclaiming. You get the energy of I would say the psychic energy is reclaimed from not knowing who you are or what your values are, and hopefully you have a little bit of a cushion, and there's a sense of like coming into yourself.
What do you mean by that? Have a little bit of a cushion?
I mean if you're in your 50s, hopefully you have a little bit of financial safety,
like dollar cushion.
Cushion.
Yeah, like, financial abundance.
What even if you don't have that, what you do have is resources of your lived experience. And like to be looking at that and being like, oh my God, check it out.
Yeah.
I did all these things in my life, and like to give yourself the accolades of like having survived. I mean, even if you didn't have crisis or loss or whatever in your own life, look at what we've lived through. People who are our age, everything from like Y2K to the World Trade Center to the .com crisis to the 2008 collapse. Like there's been such a steady drumbeat that you really realize that never changes on the outside. There's always something in the body politic, in the climate. There's always something that you turn inward, you become peace, you become in tune with your own self and have a reverent attitude toward every day you're alive. That's a very different way than walking around like, I'm broken, I need to fix something. It doesn't honor you. So the reverence piece is actually extended from the body, for me, out into the way that we approach daily life. Like, is this decision going to support more life, more well-being? Will it honor life? And if not, maybe I don't do it. But thanks for asking that. I have the book here. Do you want to see the book?
Yeah, I'd love to. Show us.
Reverence. And beautiful. It's called Creating Ritual in Modern Life. And this was a collaboration with a bunch of people in our community, both customers and people on the team and authors, cultivating presence and the inner space of ritual. There's rituals in here for midlife, for the empty nest, for a croning ceremony, rituals for grief, rituals for re-entry, how to build a mandala, how to create personal rituals. So I have about 500 copies of this left, plus a journal to record your own rituals on the site.
Is it on your site? Do you offer
it? It's on our site. And then, I added lifestyle things, which is kind of kooky. But we did this candle. We have these candles, like rose and oud candles. But then, you know what? Hey, reverence, you know what you do? You sit down, light a candle, you do your ritual practice. For people who are interested in body love, in taking it away from the sexual component of self-care,
Right.
I've got the arousal serum and the honor balm for that. But if you want to move into a practice of sort of reclaiming and re-loving and entering into reverent relationship with your body, I put together a 9-week journal curriculum for that, which basically starts with self-inquiry. And then every day is a little checklist. I'm going to zoom in.
I see it. Oh, neat.
And the checklist is, talking to I showed my body love today by talking to it with kindness, feeding it healthfully and beautifully, taking supplements, dancing or exercising, hydrating, resting, playing, receiving touch, sitting in silence, being outside, giving it sensory pleasure, giving it sexual pleasure, dry brushing, breathing deeply, anointing, and then some open spots for you to put in what feels like love for your body.
Mm-hmm.
And then an inquiry into where you got the stories about your body and what you want to carry forward into the next phase of your life and what you want to sort of decolonize in yourself. Wow. And then we're doing tools like full body gua sha, which is a really beautiful way to.
You are a creator.
Anyway, between intimate care, intimate wellness, and sexual and intimate wellness, I feel they're deeply intertwined, and a reverent attitude toward the self. It's going to be a lot easier to have a very beautiful time of menopause. And the word for post-menopause, which is a ridiculous term, like the wisdom years, I don't know what we have to come up with a term for those years from like 60 to 85.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So you're not a fan of post-menopause. You like the wisdom years. Is that how you?
I was saying that I was working with the free period. You're literally free of periods, and it's a freer period in your life where you're probably done raising your children. And if you have them, I know now 1 in 4 women are going to end their childbearing years without children. But if you have them, it's generally a time when you're much more free. Of course, there are other things that are happening. A lot of times it's coinciding with the reevaluation of your core relationship. That those changes in raising a family or coming into like, well, who am I now at 50 or 60? A lot of people end up changing their primary relationship. A lot of times you're dealing with your own parents. You're kind of doing a reevaluation of your life. It's a very fecund time. Mm-hmm. Not all roses and kittens, but it's
right. But I look at it. I've described it as like having a snake skin that you're shedding during this period, and it's coming off whether you want it to or not. And there's that point of discomfort when you realize you're not the same person that you were before, and you maybe try to get back into that space, but it doesn't fit anymore. So I'm
actually more the person I was.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, for sure.
At some point, I think my core essence is 12-year-old boy, like a 12-year-old tomboy who likes to like play and have fun and goof off and climb trees and do sports, and that part of me that had all the overlay of like being, I don't know, power woman,
dude,
whatever.
Not so much. Yes.
Yeah. She's like definitely taking a vacation. Like any masks are gone, are going. There might be a couple left, but it feels like a return to the essential you.
That's what I was saying. And menopause calls you back to yourself. It calls you back to your body, because many women have forgotten, like you said, probably the core two of what you're talking about, forgotten about taking care of our bodies. And menopause, perimenopause is like, hello, I am here. You cannot ignore me. I'm going to get hot. I'm going to get dry. I'm going to get itchy. I'm going to get puffy, all the things till you start to pay attention to me again. Yeah. So that's a gift of it.
I'm going to just say, you probably read in my bio that I've been studying and teaching yoga for 25 years. Yes. It's hard to do that when you're doing all the other things. I still teach 2 days a week.
Really?
At 6:30 in the morning, which is perfect. Amazing. It's perfect. It's candlelight yoga. But if I had one thing that I want every woman who's hitting perimenopause and menopause to do, it's to get full joint rotation every day. And it could be yoga, it could be dance, but I mean, really getting the full rotation, doing shoulders, doing your hip joints, doing your neck. Anywhere you don't have movement is where the calcium deposits accrue. And that's what creates frozen shoulder and stiffness, and you do hip circles and you do squats.
How about squatting? I've been doing a lot of, squatting, not like squats, but squatting, like sitting in a squat.
Both.
Very, very comfortable.
Both. Like squatting is
Squats are
squatting
great.
as a dynamic motion, taking yourself all the way down to the earth. And then as you're coming up, not just the legs, but lifting the perineum, squeezing the front of the vaginal walls and the back of the vaginal walls together, the outer hips to the core, and then lifting, like you get a full pelvic floor engagement, which helps with everything from urinary leaking to just general sexual pleasure, but also brings such blood flow and vitality into your, this is such a power center.
Right.
So much creativity out of that,
Right.
out of the base and the base chakras. So squatting, hip circles, and then don't forget your feet, rolling the ankles, pointing, going up and down on your toes. But if you're doing full joint rotation every day and you're doing some amount of weight bearing, which could just be body weight bearing, that's why I'm so into yoga. But anything that you do that's got weight bearing, you're going to feel so much better.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I'm with you. I'm feeling. Are you doing a retreat anytime soon? I feel on your farm. Do you have goats? My daughter has a goat. Also,
what we're growing on the farm is, I'll tell you a tiny little bit about the farm. So after I sold my last company and sold my house, and my youngest child, I paid his last tuition check. And I was like, oh, okay, goodbye.
That's the free period you're talking about. Yes,
we
just entered that.
And sold the house, like out the door. So, and I went around the world for 2 years with my boyfriend, and we explored and traveled. And then we had this vision of doing a farm and retreat center. And we bought this place on the Big Island, and first it was 5 acres, and I was 15, and then it's 22 acres. And we, we had intended to do a retreat center, and then the volcano went off, and we had to close. And then we were open again, and it was full, and then COVID hit, and we had to close. I was like, you know what, maybe there's something else that wants to be born here.
Maybe the universe is like, yeah, not here.
Yeah, maybe not this. So we decided to make it an intentional, like an eco village. So people come for a month or 3 months or a year. And now we have 20 residents living there, and they really wanted to have food supply. So they grow 70% of their food is grown on the land, and there's fruit, and we're doing herbals like spilanthes, which is small. But the intention is to do more kava, because we make these kava supplements, and kana, and which is a South African plant that's also known as Bushman's ecstasy. So the intention is to do high value but low weight extracts that are really done with honoring the earth and the traditions they come from. But for right now, people are doing a lot of practices and living with the land, like returning to a sense of like waking with the sun and going to sleep with the sun, and kind of the coqui frog chorus through the night, and then the bird song in the morning. We're doing a festival there called Bless Fest at the end of January, but that's someone else using the land. My friend John Ducott, who's an amazing producer, he's bringing a band called Mamuse, and Jaya Lakshmi and Dave Stringer. He's bringing a bunch of great people over. But I think that it changed me to live that close to the land. Anybody who has a chance to do it, not just on retreat, but something shifted, like my nervous system went into full,
you're fully grounded. Yeah.
Totally grounded. This is another good point about being in the body. Like, I think a lot of people, particularly had trauma or sexual trauma or a chaotic upbringing, that it's often not safe to fully be in your body. And that a lot of the practices and the ritual book and body love, and even the things we suggest with the body oil, is to drop you back into a safe and loving relationship with your body. So the more that I touch it, I oil it, I ground it, I say nice things to it, I feel it. I can even do this practice where I'm starting at my feet and just scanning my body, like where I don't feel. Oh, here's
interesting. Not where you do feel, but where you don't feel.
Noticing.
It's noticing.
I got nothing.
Yeah.
And usually that's where there's something that's locked up in the body that needs to be seen, felt, processed. And so a lot of these touch exercises, even masturbation and self-pleasure, a lot of these touch exercises are designed to get you into deeper self-contact. And if you haven't really entered into that and you're hitting menopause, it's a really great time. If there's still any lingering lack of connection or body shame or sexual shame, or any lack of clarity that your body belongs to you,
this is it,
time,
sister.
You
come back to yourself. No, and our bodies, that's where our power comes from. You know, when we feel confident and safe in our physical body, then I think that's what opens the rose. I'm going to use your metaphor, to be our full selves in the world. And that's when we can truly share the gifts that we have safely. We feel okay to be ourselves, to say what we think, to start things, to expand things, to shut things down. And that's where all the goodness is. That's why I'm with you. Midlife, menopause is like the just a delicious time. Even if it's uncomfortable, the goodness outweighs the uncomfortable.
It's only uncomfortable briefly.
Well, I think some women have a horrible experience, right? Or maybe it's part of it.
I mean,
Deanna says,
while you're in the ups and downs,
right?
Yeah,
but
and then you sort of settle into a baseline. Now,
we have to
stuff.
We have to speak to Deanna here. Oops, I'm losing you, Christine. Deanna says, body shamer right here. Deanna, we've got you. And look at you said in your Deanna Be Fit, so I know you're connected to your body. So how can we support Deanna?
That's interesting. That's a perfect point. You can be fit, but do it in a way where you're like in a self-abuse relationship, like you have to do it, otherwise you're not okay. Versus this feeling of like, I just love this body. I love it so much. I'm gonna take it out and play. I'm gonna take it out and play.
It's strong, so I can go do fun things. Yeah.
Move through space, and like you can do the exact same thing with an energy of love and vibrance as you can do with an energy of criticism. Mm-hmm. Like if you ever had a baby or you had a puppy and you looked at it and you were like, oh my God, you're so cute, you're so perfect. Try looking at yourself that way and see what happens. And then
pretend, even if it feels weird. Yeah. It'll get better.
Look at you, you're so adorable. I'm gonna go to the gym and play with you.
I also, for me, going always back to gratitude when you get wobbly on things, because just feeling grateful to have a body. And we actually had to put our dog down on Sunday.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
And, so heartbreaking. And his body just didn't work anymore. And to have a body, not that we are pets, but, to have a body that functions, being grateful, and not in a way like you got to be grateful, more like, okay, I'm going to take this kind of lumpy, bumpy, this little flappy thing I have right here from 3 babies, like that's like a trophy. I pushed 3 humans out of my body. I'm going to keep this little flap thing I got going on here, and just see our body and be grateful for the one that we have, especially if it's healthy. Now, and we want to make it healthier. I'm all about that, right? I'm all about that. But just loving the one that we have as we continue to optimize what we have. So
I agree with you.
Yeah.
The gratitude question is an interesting one. My practice lately has been more about becoming peace. I wrote a little bit about this yesterday, but like I'll notice that even if I can return, like say the thing I need to say, or get in touch with what my true values are around the thing, like there's often a period right before I resolve it where I'm like very agitated, or I'll get clenched up, and that I start to notice like, where do I lose my peace, and return to what I know to be true, return to my values. And then all of a sudden, like I can have the same service, the same outcome, the same activity, but from a different place. But it does take a lot of tracing of awareness. I'm not trying to superimpose or make myself wrong for losing my peace. I'm just trying to notice, like, where is it? Why is it?
Yeah.
And then invite some spaciousness around it. And, I do still lose my peace occasionally over my body stuff. Not like they always say you give the medicine that you need. So of course I'm doing a line of sexual wellness and intimate wellness and body care products, because that was a part of my life growing up. And anybody out there, shout out, who grew up religious, you're probably carrying a little bit of that same. And even if you didn't grow up religious, it's so in the zeitgeist, this like sexual shaming of women.
It's for women, period. The whole
Mary Magdalene thing, like she's this noble teacher in her own right, and she's shamed as a prostitute, which is also not shameful.
Exactly.
Anyway, but this whole, that all lived in me. And so like naming and claiming my desire didn't come to me until I was in my 40s, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so even the piece of, like, I went and studied sexual tantra because I wanted to understand this potent power that was in my body that had been shut down. Like, once I learned, I read oh, it's completely dropping from my, I'll come back to the name of the thing. I read a book that said how this was such a potent access to God, to pleasure, that that sexuality was so potent that it wasn't that the church was against sexuality or ecstatic experiences. They just wanted to have the monopoly on ecstatic experiences, so that the shaming of sexuality was a power move, you know. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Now
Well,
I'm going to learn how to do it.
Okay, this is a whole separate, another 2-hour conversation, but there's a lot of power moves that happen institutionally against women, right? We know that.
That's right.
So,
yeah.
boy, I've been around a lot of doctors. You know, I was in New York at the Swell event talking a lot about just how the medical community, the way women and doctors have not been trained about menopause. And a male doctor who has been treating women for menopause for 40 years, maybe 50, he said it's just another way of, it was a way of controlling women, like, you know. So anyway, that's a huge conversation.
Before we went on, I'm interestingly, today is the day that PG&E decided to cut off our power so they could do power lines. So about an hour before we do this thing, I'm like, hey, David, my friend David, can I come over to your house and do this IG live from your living room? So welcome to David's house. Thank you, David.
Thanks, David.
And so he's over here, and I like, he's, oh, your products are so beautiful. I said, oh, have you not seen them? Let me demo them for you. So I'm having, like, I do the oil on one arm, and the cream on the other arm, and the arouse on the lips. And he's like, these are amazing. And then I take out the honor balm, the yoni, the vulva cream, and I'm like, this is our vulva cream. And I start, and like, I'm going to put it on your hands, and like, even so you can feel the texture. And you could tell that there was like a recoil.
Right.
And he had to say.
Well, first he was hoping you weren't going to actually demonstrate it. That was his initial thought. Trust me.
So I said, don't worry. You know, I made the products extra pure because those parts of the body are 10 times more absorbent, but they're not going to hurt you, and they don't have cooties. Like, even if you're just, I mean, he didn't. It's an interesting response.
I get
even
emails
talking
from
about
men,
that part of the body gets like
I know. Men email me and say, can I eat my wife's bars? Like, they didn't ask her. They emailed us. Like, it's okay. Yes, you have hormones. You're actually probably an andropause, by the way.
Exactly.
So yes, you should eat them.
That's another topic on sexual joy and pleasure in midlife is, you know, you might, as a woman, some women don't go through perimenopause and menopause into their late 50s, early 60s even. And your if you are in a heterosexual relationship, your male partner will be going through andropause, and that sometimes starts around 40, sometimes around 50, and then they get this rapid testosterone decline. But you have a similar shame in men that isn't about being sexually, it's the inverse. It's you should be able to have an erection all the time. And if you can't, you're not a man.
On command.
And, you know, that's such a ridiculous story, number one. But if you don't have it, they'll invest so much money in erection aids and things like that versus just like really dropping into what's arising for them at this stage of life. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like more transparency across the board. I said, I wrote a piece that's on our site called How to Talk to Your Kids About Menopause. And like why I feel like your sons and daughters should know the biology and the chemistry. And it's the same thing for andropause, that at some point in the future, we'll all know all the stages of our life cycles for men and women. It won't be a secret. The men will know what the women are experiencing and vice versa. Right. And in that, we enter into more of a mutuality, and then we can like co-conspire to create more pleasure. So
that's why we have these conversations. Exactly. Yeah. So women can feel more empowered. They can carry it forward with their partners. They can feel comfortable talking to their daughters and sons. You know, my 22-year-old will send me a TikTok, but Mom, here's a menopause influencer. You need to follow her. I'm like, okay, Blake, thanks. You know?
It's a family affair.
Yeah. There's no shame at all.
Did you know that two of my adult children work at Rosebud?
No, I didn't know that. I know that it's a family business.
Now president of the company is my daughter.
That is awesome.
It was a really big decision to collaborate with family. When we first started out, you know, she's a design professor at Parsons School of Design, and she's got incredible instincts for product, and she's also very into clean living, so we were very aligned. And when I first came to her and I said, I want to make this intimate care line, she was kind of like, come on, it's not really market. But then as I explained to her more what was like going on in my body and in the bodies of the women that I knew, she was all on board. So she helped me introduce me to her friend Maria, and who had been the like the top packaging designer, and I was in the country. She'd done Rihanna's line,
Fenty.
Yeah. Fenty, thank you. She'd done Fenty, and I said, here's what I wanted to express. I wanted to express like the glass that like looks illuminated, like glowing, healthy skin. So it's like this peachy color light coming through, and that you could leave it on your nightstand and not have to tuck it away in a drawer, like no lightning bolts. That it looked as beautiful as like a Byredo perfume packaging setup. I wanted it to like be really evanescent. Even the lid, like the top of it is embossed like your grandma's old cold cream setup. That you've created this ritual was a part of your beauty regime, used every day. And grew to really love working together, and it turns out she has incredible operating skills. So yeah, she's pretty wonderful.
I love it. That's just the cherry on top.
It is.
I love. All right,
continuing to evolve the line, and we had a big survey a year.
Oops, I'm losing your signal a little bit. A lot of it now. Deanna, I see you, by the way, if you're here, that you love the Rosebud salve. Love it. Such nice products. Beautiful, beautiful. Oh, I hope you don't lose Christine here. I'll hang here. I'd love to hear what you all think in the comments about Reverence for women. Oop, I thought she was going to hop off, but maybe she'll come back. It's just it's a beautiful way to describe how we care for ourselves, care for other women. You're welcome, Deanna. I'm so glad you're here. It's such a special word, reverence, and how we really honor ourselves. I think that's another way I would say it. Honor ourselves in midlife, honor who we become, honor who we're becoming, because we're still growing and expanding, and being able to just build on all the wisdom and the life experience, joyful, not so joyful. That's all what makes it rich. So I love everything. I hope you come back, Christine. Let's see. We'll see if she does. If not, thanks everyone for being here for such a beautiful conversation. I know you can find all her products at rosebudwoman.com. You can follow Christine at The Rose Woman. I had to think about it. The Rose Woman on Instagram. There's a period, the period. Oh, here we go. Hi, Rosebud Woman. Let's see here. Let's see if she's, I'll bring her back here. How you can follow her. So Christine at the.rose.woman is how you can follow her. Jenny, yes, you're all on her face. Oh, there you are. Let's see. Oh, there you are.
I am back. Hi.
No worries.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. We were just wrapping up, but I just wanted to
great. That's great.
Thank you
so much
being here. I know we'll have more conversations. We're just scratching the surface. I get that with you. Have that energy and feeling. I know that meditation is special to you. That's a big part of my day. So we have a lot to talk about in future conversations. So we're going to meet up in, I don't know, Larkspur and have coffee and lunch and hang out and chat.
Absolutely. Good to know that you're local. Yes. Yeah, I would love to just reiterate that we hope that everybody has an amazing time in the free period, that any kind of mythology about like going gently into that good night is eliminated, and that, you know, you're probably good 30 to 40 years left, and that entire period of your life is fecund and joyful, I wrote half my book, started the podcast, started this company, all of that stuff after menopause. So, and I feel like there's at least 5 or 6 more in me.
Yes.
Anyway,
At least.
I hope that you've enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I love talking to you.
Lovely. And Deanna, yes, Berkeley and Marin. So we'll all connect up. Just DM. We'll have a little gathering. So, because you missed, I don't know if you saw it, Deanna's a fan and she loves your.
Wonderful. Well, good. Yes, I'm in Sausalito right now too, up on the ridge on Sausalito Boulevard.
There you go. Local.
So, okay, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Have
Thank you so much.
Reverent day. Thank you so much. Be well.
Bye.
Bye, Christine. Bye, everyone.